My name is Scott Challoner, and you are listening to the Leaders Council podcast for the people who run the country and the people who keep the country running. Now, as regular listeners of this show will know very well, part of our mission here at the Leaders Council is to bring you a variety of distinct perspectives on leadership. And to this end, we're joined on the programme today, and a very hot day it is, by Stewart Munro, Managing Director at Pentland Medical. Pentland supplies unique patented patient and staff safety products to the UK healthcare sector, one of those being Otium, the world's first medical device that communicates via narrowband Internet of Things and is described as a game changer for the care of people living with dementia. And we'll be talking all about that and its incredible potential on today's show. For now though, Stewart, very warm welcome to you today, and thanks ever so much for joining us on the show again. It's a pleasure having you back.
Yeah, hello Scott. Yes, absolutely a pleasure to be speaking with you again.
Yeah, real pleasure for myself as well, Stewart. We talked about the weather before coming onto the air, so I don't think we'll bore anybody with that, and we'll get straight down to business here, because everybody, I think, is feeling exactly the same, bit hot and bothered today. So Otium, we've talked a little bit about sort of what it is. It is the first sort of medical device, we've said there, that communicates via narrowband Internet of Things. But what actually is it, and how is it that it's sort of making a real difference in the care of those patients that are living with dementia out there?
So I guess first we should address the issue that we're actually looking at here, which is approximately 1 in 3 people suffering or actually dealing with dementia tend to wander at some stage, and obviously that can be very distressing and a concern for the family or carers looking after them. There are many GPS-based devices. As everybody knows now, GPS is actually so developed and used in everyday life for everybody. They're based on good technology, and the Otium platform also uses that, but it takes it a step further by basing the communication platform on narrowband Internet of Things. Essentially, I guess, at the moment, limitations of GPS-based systems are they can't track indoors. You have a low battery life, so the battery's drain quite quickly, and that makes them quite expensive to run and not great for the environment. Also, the communication is good, but not as good as what we can achieve with Otium. I guess I could essentially explain. I'll try to outline a vision of what it is. Actually, Otium is a series of tablets, brown white tablets. One is the one that goes with the person with dementia, which is basically a tag that can be sewn into a piece of clothing or be worn around the neck or whatever, that doesn't distress the person with dementia. A lot of the GPS systems actually have flashing lights and noises and so on when they're actually operational, and they are actually tracking all the time, which means that there can be quite an interference on somebody's lives. Otium just doesn't work like that. It's very discreet and actually can be, as I say, sewn into a piece of clothing. It's machine washable up to 60 degrees, so very robust. And that is what stays with the person with dementia. There are a series of home bases, which are smaller tablets that look like little speakers. These are placed strategically throughout the domestic property or a care home or whatever setting the person is in. And they communicate with a device that's charged up, home base, that actually is the device that will keep tracking the tag. And that operates through Bluetooth with a limitation of whatever the Bluetooth limitation is in the given premises, like walls, etc., etc. I mean, I guess anybody that uses a Bluetooth speaker will be aware acutely of the limitation of Bluetooth. Point being that once the person with dementia goes out with that area, it then takes over the satellite GPS system as a tracking area. The big difference is that it's not tracking the person with dementia until just goes out with a boundary that the users or the family or the carers actually set on a mobile phone app. That means that they've got greater sense of freedom and privacy. I think that's a huge advantage. If you take a care home situation where most care homes are actually have a secure floor or wing for dementia people, and that means that basically, regardless of what level of deterioration you're actually all classed as one and can't actually leave the secure wing. Otium would then allow families to actually then track themselves, give the care home staff access to the app, and allow that person to go out if it's deemed that person is fit and capable to do so. That's a huge advantage. I think you all agree that. I mean, personally, when I actually thought about that as a personal sort of situation, I think that would make my life a lot better. So that's a big advantage. The narrow band of Internet of Things is going to be the future for all these types of communication. I mean, the logistic industry and so on is all moving towards that sort of platform. So it's the future, and it's kind of like I always kind of look at just GPS systems as about an obsolescence now because of this technology. All these GPS systems are general; they're not medical devices. Otium is the world's first registered medical device, and we are a medical professional company. So, you get the same level of support and care that we give to any of our products, whether it's in anaesthetic, in operating theatres, in the hospital setting, or in social care in this instance. So I guess that's kind of a basic outline of what Otium is and some of the advantages it offers.
Yeah, so it's essentially a unique and discrete sort of tagging device, isn't it, which those with dementia can easily sort of carry around with them, and then it ensures that kind of safe and reliable tracking both sort of in and outside of premises. And obviously it's got an extended battery life as well, far superior to that of GPS, and it's also just far more effective. And I think it is good to kind of contextualise the demand for something like this as well, isn't it? Because just looking at some figures in front of me from the Alzheimer's Society here, there are around sort of 900,000 people in the UK that are currently living with dementia, and that figure within the next 18 years is predicted to rise to over 1.6 million people. And within that amount of people, there'll be 6 in every 10 of them that will go off wandering at least at some point in their lives once. And many of those will do so on more than one occasion. And obviously we talked about the risks to people with dementia, for people that can wander, because they can go and wander into main roads. It can really distress friends, family and carers who might be concerned for their whereabouts. So that just kind of is indicative, isn't it, of the level of demand for something like this and the potential that it has to make a real difference to, well, quite a lot of people, both directly and indirectly.
That's a fantastic sales job you're doing there, Scott. Yes, absolutely. The statistics are frightening. When we got involved with this, we weren't aware of the issues surrounding dementia. But when we all looked at it as a company, we've all been personally affected by some of the experiences we've had already dealing with customers. But it highlights actually a very interesting point here, because I can see a real demographic thing in healthcare. Healthcare is a big passion for me, just generally, and the management of healthcare and the way that governments and societies look at handling big, large populations and all the healthcare issues that arise. And I guess I'm kind of looking at this terrifying statistics for dementia right now and thinking that governments previous have kind of ignored it because it's going to be a baby boom thing. It just figures that something like dementia would be absolutely something that would increase dramatically with a huge simultaneously aging population. And then I guess it begs the question of how much resources do you put into that when at the back of that there should be a decrease in that. I don't think there's a lot of research done on that, but it's something that really struck me as a relevant point. But yes, as we are going forward in the next 10 years or so, we will be dealing with these issues dramatically. And I think one of the big things for us as a business is actually we are working closely with Alzheimer's Society and other organisations that do so much great work with all the people that are affected by these issues. And it's dragged us into a situation where we can't do enough. You know, we went on sponsored walks and so on with the Alzheimer's Society. The whole company is completely engaged with the whole process, and practically daily we're getting feedback from families who are telling us that we've transformed their lives. You just don't get that on a daily basis in the healthcare setting. You know, it's great that we go into hospitals, we see things, we see our products saving lives, but you don't actually get the recognition for it. You don't actually get the feedback for it. It's just accepted. Here, we're actually getting this sort of situation arise, and that's a complete transformation for our company. Actually, the whole thing, it's been great for my team to be part of something that they recognise that this is what we do daily, but we don't get the recognition for it. And I think most satisfying thing is that we're allowing people to have more normal life in a dreadful situation. So these statistics you're quoting there are obviously something that we'll be dealing with for the next 10 years or so.
Absolutely right. And you mentioned there some of the reaction that you've had. Of course, Pentland Medical, you are the UK supplier of this particular product, and there's been some exceptional feedback, hasn't there, both from Alzheimer's Scotland, but also for care homes in England that have been trialling it as well. So that's hugely encouraging, isn't it? That, you know, this is going to have a real impact over the next 10 years as the proliferation of dementia increases. But I suppose it's fair to say, isn't it, that these endorsements weren't unexpected, because Denmark, where the Otium device was originally manufactured and tested, there were already some very, very encouraging signs coming out of Scandinavia when, you know, you came upon this device and ended up doing the deal to become the UK supplier for it. So I suppose you kind of saw this coming, didn't you?
Indeed. And, you know, they've actually in Denmark just replaced the previous supplier, a well-known international manufacturer of devices that kind of handle this thing in a care home setting. They've just replaced that in the biggest care home in Denmark. And that's actually quite interesting in the sense that there was no real need for the care home to do so. They just thought that Otium offered them such a great advantage that they thought they would go ahead and replace the whole thing now rather than wait for an obsolescence date or something like that. So yeah, the data coming from Denmark and elsewhere, in fact, obviously, is really just supportive of all the claims we're making. I think the other thing that's important is that there are no ongoing charges. All these GPS systems usually work on a subscription basis, other than just buying the device or the hardware that's associated with it. There's a subscription ongoing for this. We don't do anything like that. We just give the support for life, and you know, that's basically a one-off fee. So it's a very low-cost system, and that makes it affordable for many families, which is obviously the biggest potential market for Otium. The care home market is big, but most people, sadly, in many cases, are actually obviously being looked after in the home, the domestic environment. You know, I think certainly in our company, and I think probably you'll know in your workplace situation somebody that's affected by dementia, and it's just that kind of problem. So we look forward to transforming how these issues around dementia are actually addressed. The Alzheimer's Society are listing us as a partner, and we want to continue to work with organisations like that really know the whole industry, the whole sector, the whole care sector. We're also working with another very interesting company called CareStop Shutter, who they effectively describe themselves as Amazon meets Mumsnet. They've listed several commercial products on their website, and they promote that to their audience of primarily smaller care homes. So there's 5 big organisations that are running care home organisations in England, Scotland and Wales. But the vast majority, I think it's something like 80%, are actually care homes that are under 100 beds. Some of them very individual organisations. And that's their target marketplace. And we've got together with them and now just listed our products on there. So there's a big sense of the current sales profile will increase dramatically in the next 5 to 6 weeks because of all the activity that's going on.
Exactly, and I think the versatility of Otium is fantastic, isn't it, as well? Because as you mentioned there, I mean, it doesn't just work in sort of the larger care settings, it's working in sort of those smaller ones, but you can even sort of set this up in the home, aren't you? The private individual can go and get hold of this device.
Well,
And
that's the market, Scott, yeah, and actually, we've been gobsmacked at how much we've been involved on a personal level with these families that are having this issue. In fact, there's one elderly couple on the Isle of Skye, the most remote customer we have so far. They're on the northern tip of the Isle of Skye in a very remote location. And that's a lovely couple in their 80s. We kind of set them up through Alzheimer's Scotland for a free trial. But it's the lady's husband that has the dementia problem and is now a wandering issue as well. And they live near a cliff in an isolated location in Skye, so it's pretty dangerous if he goes wandering. And she'd never used they don't have a mobile phone. So we actually gave them a mobile phone and set them up. They got everything running, and we're giving them support to have that operational. So they're going to write a testimonial for us. The lady's a former journalist, so she's very competent and capable, but I think they just like to live the rural life away from modern day living. But there you go, that's a great example for me. I love that story in particular. I think it's very human, but it's also a great example of what can be achieved.
And the accessibility and affordability of this is also hugely important, isn't it? Because you obviously have not just the option to purchase this device, but you can also rent it. You can try it before you buy it, and it's affordable as well, isn't it? So it's like it is something that isn't necessarily going to be an option that's going to be a game changer, but people are priced out by it. So that also is going to make a huge, huge difference.
Very, very, very good point. That's a deliberate thing. I think we've also looked at our pricing profile and worked with Denmark to keep it as low as possible. We are actually very conscious of that, and we do want to make it available to everybody. But we've given a lot away free as well, and we'll continue to do that because not everybody, even under these circumstances, will be able to afford it, and we're just keen to make sure that everybody that does need this product can have it.
Understandably so, and there are several reasons, I think, why it's sort of standing out from other solutions that are on the market at the moment. And it's not just because of the fact that it's easy to use and it's much more efficient than some of the other options that are out there. It's the fact that it's not just about locating people with dementia when they do happen to wander off, is it? It aims to actually prevent the problem from happening in the first instance, and that's also a key difference with this.
It's kind of early days in terms of aspects like that, but certainly I think the fact that families and individuals and carers can actually personalise everything about the product. In fact, quite a lot of people actually personalise the tab and just wear it around their neck. There's a great story from Denmark, actually, where one person there was actually quite conscious of wearing the bare white tag around his neck. And they thought, well, let's get something to decorate it with. And the guy is actually a big Mercedes fan, and they wrote to Mercedes asking if they had stickers or something they could use on it. And Mercedes were absolutely fantastic and gifted the family a whole package and so on. And that guy's quite happy to wear that around his neck in that situation. There's quite a lot of that sort of interaction going on there. And I think it kind of personalises the whole thing a little bit more as well. There's also enormous potential for the future to add other dimensions to this technology. And I think that's the thing that probably excites me more than any other aspect. It's not just potentially a tracking device and that's it, end of story. All the GPS devices are kind of like that. But this has the potential to actually look at other areas, and we are exploring these areas as we speak.
It's fantastic, isn't it, the potential that this has. And as you mentioned there as well, I mean, it is easy for these people with dementia that have the tag on their person to not become alienated by it or intimidated by it, because it is very discreet. It doesn't have any sort of flashing lights or alarms on it or anything like that. And you can sort of personalise the tag as well. I mean, there's a wonderful story actually from Alzheimer's Scotland again, where there's one user who actually has pictures of their parents stuck on the tag as well, so they're obviously inclined to carry it around with them and almost use it as a comforter as well. So just goes to show that there's some real versatility there as well.
Yeah, it highlights this whole personal thing about the entire area. It's actually blown us away as a company. As I say, it's been a journey for us, and we're really enjoying it and learning as we go along. It's fair to say as well that I should point out the technology infrastructure that this is based on is currently run by Vodafone, and it's expensive to invest in a network to develop this technology. I think currently the last statistics we had was the coverage in the UK is only about 86% of the geographical area of the whole United Kingdom, and that's improving. But it does mean at this point in time that there are some black areas or white areas, as we call them, where we can't actually get sufficient satellite coverage and technology to operate properly. But it's what you get when you're at the forefront of developing technology. That's what you do, and that's what we're about as a company. As you know, Scott, we've spoken before about some of the amazing solutions we have, and this is certainly up there.
That's exactly it, isn't it? Everything is a work in progress when you're sort of right at the forefront of innovations and developing new technologies. Exactly right. And so nothing is going to be perfect, certainly first time. And I think there's so much more to come from Motium. Seems incredibly exciting. And the last time we spoke as well, Stewart, I do recall actually that you were starting to sort of bring up the video marketing campaign for the product to its call to action phase. And obviously some initial feedback there have been positive and attracted a good following. So I suppose I should ask you sort of how that side of things is going, and when we can expect to maybe see this sort of rolled out a little bit more across the country.
Yeah, we're actually playing around with the landing page videos for that particular campaign. It's obviously everybody in marketing these days is aware that digital marketing is the way to get your product in front of everybody and make yourself the number one product, no matter what it is on the internet. And obviously that's a continuing battle, a dynamic situation. And we're actually just really gearing up now. I think if you type into most search engines at this point in time, key terms relevant to us, like dementia tracking and so on, you'll find that we'll come up either first or second. But that'll change in the next few weeks when we really ratchet up the campaign and take it on. It never really works for us in healthcare, that type of thing, because what we tend to reach the end users or people with the problems we're trying to address. And that's not any use to us because we're secondary care where we rely on healthcare professionals that use the products to be the decision makers. So that's kind of an interesting sort of situation for us, where we can actually use the power of digital marketing to get our message across. And in this sense, it feels good. It feels like we're doing a good thing, rather than just trying to buy number one spot and then position yourself where you are. And of course, I know a lot of people now, myself included, will not automatically take the first thing that comes up in the search engine because they're aware of these things. So again, we have to spread it into the organic section. So I think that's where we're also more focused on dealing with organisations like the Alzheimer's Society, who carry a bit of gravitas and sort of weight in terms of the whole issue. That's who we want to be aligned with. We don't just want to be making a statement and trying to set ourselves as the experts. We want other people that are the experts in the industry to work with us. So there's security there that both organisations know that what we're saying is correct.
It's exactly right, isn't it? It's getting those endorsements. It's making sure that, the gravitas, as you say, is there to show that, this is being developed in consideration for the end users. It isn't just about becoming the market leader, becoming a household name, although it certainly does seem like it has the potential to do so. And I think just before we finish, Stuart, actually, it'd be good to kind of get an idea of what your longer term hopes are for the Otium device, because obviously it's hopefully going to make a huge difference, and it is going to really sort of develop some momentum in the UK. But I suppose your hopes are sort of far more broad than that, aren't they? I mean, because it's going to be making the difference on a personal level, hasn't it?
Absolutely. We touched on it earlier, but I know that Denmark have plans for adding extra dimensions to what we can actually do with the tag. The technology is all there. It's already built in to be able to actually take an upgrade to other areas. So I think that's incredibly exciting. I mean, I should also point out that there's a couple of guys that worked on the development of Otium in Denmark, worked on the development of Bluetooth, which is a Scandinavian invention. And the name Bluetooth actually comes from a Viking king called Harald Bluetooth. So, we've got that kind of credible sort of technological development background in there as well. And that's what's driving the future for us. So who knows where it can go, to be honest. I'm very excited about the potential. It's quite clear that we have the development capabilities to move on to better things.
Absolutely, and it's a really fun fact, isn't it, about Bluetooth, actually. In the Bluetooth insignia, it is actually a Viking rune, isn't it? So for anybody tuning into this who didn't know that, you've certainly learned something today as well. So, yeah, it's fantastic how things work, isn't it? Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's technology and it's got limitations, but it is incredible what we can do when it works. And, obviously improving it continually is what it's all about.
Exactly right. Continuous improvement, continuous development. I don't think we're ever a finished article, and that sort of translates into leadership as well. It's something that we talk about an awful lot. And just moving away sort of from sort of Otium specifically as well, Stewart, before we wrap up, I can imagine that over the next year or so within the company, Otium, of course, is going to be one of your priorities, but there'll be plenty of other products and projects that you're working on as well that I'm sure you're very excited about.
Oh, absolutely. We've just returned from Edinburgh, where we held a sales meeting with the team, and we had a fantastic social event with the Edinburgh Festival. And we're all so excited. I've got an incredibly young, dynamic team that I'm so proud to be leading. And we're all incredibly excited about our first global healthcare product solution for an anesthesia issue that's absolutely incredible, to be honest. How this issue is actually addressed at the moment, the way it is a real story, and I think we're going to have another podcast on that one. But it's just a lovely story, because it's two theatre technicians in theatres in the UK that seen this problem continuing their lives and thought there must be a better solution. They went looking for one globally and couldn't find it, so they sat down and created their own, and that's the origin of this amazing product. It's now going through the final clinical trial stage. All looking good. In the autumn, we hope to launch that globally. Watch this space. We'll have a chat about that, Scott, I think.
Yeah, fantastic. I'd certainly love to hear about that. Sounds like something that, again, is going to be a game changer in another area, and really fascinating stuff. It's amazing, isn't it, what innovations can really do in the medical devices sector. And yes, Stuart would certainly love to hear all about that. And in the meantime, of course, I won't sort of keep you from enjoying the weather any longer. It's been brilliant having you on the show again, and I'm looking forward to the next time we'll be discussing sort of what's going on behind the scenes more, and just seeing what other things out there are going to be coming out in the market soon and making a real difference to people's lives.
Me too, Scott. A pleasure as always. Really enjoyed talking to you.
Likewise, Stuart, it's been absolutely fantastic, and I do hope that everyone tuning in also shares that sentiment as well, and has enjoyed hearing once again from Stewart Munro, Managing Director at Pentland Medical, who are doing some fantastic work at the moment, truly are. And just a message to everyone listening in. I mean, if you do run your own business or head up your own organisation, and you feel that you have your own story to share with us here at the Leaders Council, then by all means, we also want to hear from you. So why not apply to be on the programme yourself via leaderscouncil.co.uk/apply to talk about your product, innovation or story. Until next time, everybody, please do take care and goodbye. You've been listening to the Leaders Council podcast with your host, Scott Challoner. Thank you.